So far throughout the semester, I've been reflecting on my student teaching so far, specifically with classroom management. My situation was a little different to where my guide teacher only had one class of which he taught, which was modern world history, and all his other classes were ninth grade IB economics and government. So the class he gave me to teach, I had nothing to watch him teach it first. Like a majority of students have like their guide teacher, they get to watch him teach the class first and then they get to go and do it themselves. So I didn't have that opportunity. So the first few weeks of the semester, we were more so co-teaching, because I didn't have something to model off of, and he was a little vague on his structure of like how he teaches instruction. But now that I'm more than halfway through the semester and I've gotten a lot more comfortable with teaching, I've noticed that he's fully given me the reins to where I am teaching the entire time of my class, which has actually been a lot nicer because now the students are responding to me, like they come to me first before him, which is nice, which I noticed issues with when I was co-teaching with him. As for classroom management, the benefit of coming into student teaching in the second semester is that management procedures have already been in place because those kind of get set in place in the beginning of the school year when that starts. So management isn't a much of an issue because students already know how like the classroom functions. But as for reflecting on my lesson planning, I noticed that when I was first starting to lesson plan for his class, I was kind of venturing off and like doing something that I would prefer to do, or like I would rather teach the class. But I noticed that my guide teacher likes to keep a really set structure of how he teaches, where he starts the day with a daily warm up on this site called Schoology. So it's an online like journal, I guess you can say. And then he moves on into a small discussion about the journal and then prepping for what students will be going over in class. And then he usually hands them a handout and they work on it individually, and then that carries over to the next class or as homework. I found this structure, for my guide teacher, he says structure is really important, especially for the general ed students, because it gives them like a sense of direction and they already know what to expect from the class. But I've noticed that his structure isn't as engaging as I would like it. So I've definitely noticed like when we were co-teaching and I was in charge of assigning the activity, I would try to stray away from giving students like the individual handouts and trying to do more of like group collaborative work or like more interacting with each other, which I actually noticed did really well. In regard to just like me and my guide teacher's relationship, I think I noticed in the beginning of the semester he was a little more timid with me coming in because, first of all, I didn't know very much at all about modern world history except what I learned on the CSET that I passed away even before this program started. So I even told him I wasn't as comfortable with the information. But the more he introduced me and let me take over the classroom, the more comfortable I've been. And so now teaching in front of the class the whole time without his help has become I've been way more comfortable, which is nice. As for some feedback my supervisor has given me from the first lesson about classroom management, I ended up showcasing for her something that was completely like new to class, new to me, new to everybody. So it was a little like uncomfortable, and was also like one of my third or fourth days like actually being up in front of the classroom for more than like 15 minutes. So it didn't go as well as planned. So like my biggest area of growth from that was that I needed to be teaching the whole time, which now I am. So I definitely am teaching the whole time, which is nice. As for the lesson planning one, I collaborated with my guide teacher before the lesson plan supervisor visit, and we both decided that the activity that I gave students that the supervisor was going to be there watching would have been best done individually because he tends to give the kids individual work to do. But my activity was a little more complex, and I noticed that kids struggled doing it individually, and it would have been benefited more in groups or doing it collaboratively. So when the supervisor was there, I was constantly having to walk from like student to student the entire time because they had questions. As for if I would have set it up in a collaborative or like group activity, kids would have been able to ask each other in the group how to complete it rather than like constantly asking me. So that was like the biggest area of growth I got from the lesson planning feedback with my supervisor. Overall strengths I've been given so far is that a lot of like the individual activities that I've come up with that are different from like the handouts that he already provided, is that my activities have tended to be more engaging. For my second, or for my virtual lesson planning video, I posted a me like directing an interacting review game for the test, and it's about like 30 minutes long, and the kids were actually really interacting and like constantly raising their hands and competing for like the most points to like the questions. So that was actually fun. And even the first thing my guide teacher said out of his mouth after it was done, he's like, the kids were all engaged. Like that was really good. So I've been trying to come up with more like fun and engaging stuff because I've noticed that the kids respond more well to it. But definitely areas of growth. I definitely could study up on the content a lot more because I'm having a difficult time making connections with history because, first of all, I don't know as much about it, but also making relatable connections to 10th graders. So I've been trying to bring in more of my personal experiences with it, which has been doing well, but I need to make more connections. Overall, I'm happy with my placement right now. It's definitely, these kids have definitely showed me that teaching is not easy as I thought it was, especially teaching general in 10th grade. But it's definitely a learning process, and I could definitely say from the first day I started till now, I have grown incredibly. So that will do it for my midterm reflection, and definitely have a lot to work on, definitely not perfect. So thank you.